I have Steena Holmes with me today. Thank you for joining me, Steena.
Well, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am an author, a New York Times and USA bestselling author. I have over 30 books that I've published, some under my name, some under others, and some are co-written with other authors. I am a mother of three teenage daughters who are giving me gray hair, and I am a coffee addict. I love chocolate, and I love to travel, and every time I go places, I look for the best coffee shop.
Exciting. So,
There we go.
best coffee shop. Now I need to know.
Mm.
Where is the best coffee shop that you've ever had?
Uh, um, so my favorite coffee shop was on the Isle of Capri in Italy. And my favorite chocolate shop, it's actually a town, and it's Bruges in Belgium. And there are like over 50 chocolate shops in one small medieval town. Like, it's amazing, just amazing.
Wow, that's a lot of
Yeah,
chocolate.
I know. It was my first time going on a solo trip just by myself, and I was scared to go by myself, especially in Europe. And I did little things like I lost my purse and with my passport for a couple minutes and whatnot. But I survived, and I found this town with all these chocolate shops, and I was like in heaven. It was awesome.
See, bad things do lead you to chocolate. That's great. I love that.
Yep, that's right.
And so 30 books. How long have you been writing to have 30 books?
I've been writing full time since 2012, but I started 2010. And I started off with working with small e-presses and then self-publishing. And then I had a book that just, it went crazy as soon as I published it. And I had agents and editors coming after me. So the rest is history, kind of thing.
Wow, that's exciting. And that's probably
Yeah.
really like a motivation for a lot of the artists that watch this who are indie artists and are with small presses or self-publishing to know that slow and
It
steady.
can happen. Yeah. And it depends what their goal is. If their goal is to get picked up, then it totally can happen. If their goal is just to write the best book that they can and find the most readers that they can, then, the ball's in their court.
Exactly. So one of the questions that I've been asked to ask you is why you love being an indie artist. And you're kind of not an indie artist now because you're
Um,
with a, but you were. So what do you love about the indie community, I guess?
so I still self-publish as well as work with a publisher. So I still do both, which is fabulous. And I love the control aspect. Everything is under my control, right? And when I publish, to what kind of cover I have, to if I need to change that cover, to pricing strategies and different marketing ideas that I have, to how I want to reach my readers. And I don't really have anyone telling me, no, it's not a good idea, or no, we're not going to back you on this, or no, we're not going to give you a price matching, or we're not going to give you a sale this month, or whatnot. Being an indie author, it's all under my control, which I absolutely love. I love that you can experiment and try new things and see what works for others and try and implement it for yourself, but in a way that is unique to your audience. When, with traditional publishing, it's harder.
True, because you have the guidelines and the target marketing, like, well, this is trending right now, so go in that direction.
Yeah.
Exactly. You'll need to have yourself when you're writing on your own, figure out what's trending.
That's right. That's right. And the only people that you need to worry about are your readers and how they handle your books. And, they're the ones who are going to let you know if going in one direction or another is going to work.
So, Steena, what is your genre?
So I started off romance, and then I'm best known for my women's fiction, but I am moving into psychological suspense.
Exciting. So
Yeah.
how did we get from romance to women's lit to, I see that transition, but now psychological suspense?
This is what I've always wanted to write. And it's what I read. This is my audience, my genre. It's what I love the most. And when I first wrote Finding Emma, it had a little bit of suspense in it, but it was it was, still back in 2011 when I first put it out. So it was more women's fiction. I did try once with psychological suspense called The Memory Child. And after I did that, my editor wanted me to go back to women's fiction. And I owed them another book. So that's what I went to, because they said that's where my audience was and that's my writing style and whatnot. So I decided after that, I wanted to, eventually I want to write psychological suspense and psychological thrillers. And I knew I needed to bring my readers with me if I wanted to continue with the audience, right? And if I didn't want to, so much, it depends, you go from one genre to another and you don't have that crossover with your readers. And I wanted to make sure that I would with this book. So I looked at it as every book I was writing that led me up to this point was one step closer to a psychological suspense. So that me going from one to another hopefully wouldn't be too much of a jump. It'd be what they were expecting.
Exciting. Yeah, it's scary to completely change your genres. I've gone from young adult fantasy to a woman's literature book that's not at all young or fantasy.
Wow. No.
But I'm new enough in the game. I don't have a following quite like you do, so exciting.
It's exciting. You can build it.
Exactly. So I always ask people about research. Is there any interesting research that you've done while writing a book or preparing to write your book?
I try to talk to people if I can, especially people in the field. So if I needed medical opinions, and I have a couple doctors and lawyers in my friendship circle, so I can ask them questions. I like to look online and read the papers and articles and whatnot. Now, I try to be really careful with, if I find out that the book I'm writing can hit close to home to something that's actually happened. So for instance, when I wrote Stillwater Rising, it's all about the aftermath of a small town school shooting. And I wanted to be careful that I didn't tell a story of a school shooting that had actually happened. I wanted it to be something that was close so that people can relate, but I didn't want it to hit too close to home. So I was careful not to research too many school shootings and what would happen so that that wouldn't happen. But what I did do was talk to paramedics and EMTs and police officers and school principals and teachers of what would happen or what they would do in those circumstances and whatnot.
Oh wow!
So sometimes the research is great, and sometimes I try to be careful with it.
That's good advice for people writing. It's always scary when you put so much into your novel that maybe you might trigger someone's own issues. So do you put disclaimers on your books, or you just
I'll put it at the beginning, right, that this is a purely fictional event, and when I'm talking to readers about the book, that is something that I'll always mention. I'll say I don't know anyone who has gone through this. This is something that I'm afraid of as a mother or as a woman, and so I'm wanting to bring it out to the light, right? I want to bring my own fears out so that they're not so scary anymore, and that's why I would write the book. So every book that I've written has been because of that. And if it circles around, or if it's too close to an event that's happened, then that's just happenstance.
Any advice you have for new and upcoming writers, or for other seasoned authors that maybe could use a little tidbit of motivation?
How about one thing that I'm really worried about for authors today is how easy it is for us to compare ourselves to everyone else and to get on that track of trying to be like every other author. So, there's always that advice that's out there about, you have to write so many books and you have to get so many books published, right? Like it's the 30-day or 60-day, 90-day cliff. And you need to have something out every month or every 2 months, or the algorithms aren't going to like you and no one's going to see you and whatnot. And I hear so many authors who are burning out because for the past year or 2 years, that's what they've done is they've stopped everything else in their life just so that they can focus and concentrate on writing these short novels or novellas or full-length novels, and so that their audience can have something new to read every month. And I keep hearing that the whole goal is to increase your sales. And yet it's tax time and everyone's getting their T4s and everyone is talking about how their sales went down. They went down, but they had more books out there, right? And that shouldn't be the case. So what about thinking of putting the time and the effort into our stories and respecting our readers? And instead of trying to have a half-assed job of a book every month or every 2 months, we take the 3, 4, 5 months that that book actually needs and make it amazing and put it out there. And then people are going to love it and they're going to talk about it and they're going to share it. And it's not just going to be, oh yeah, they just put out another book. Oh yeah, and they just put out another book. Oh, and here's my author that I love and she just put out another book, but I've read so much of hers that I'm just going to take a break. We don't want that, right? So what about respecting their time and creating that feeling of, oh my God, I can't wait for another book to come out, right? Like I have my favorite authors and they have 1 or 2 books a year come out. And as soon as I know that they're out there for pre-order, I pre-order because I cannot wait for the story to come out. But if they had something every month or every 2 months, I probably wouldn't feel that same way, right? I would be like, oh, I'm going to try someone new. And then if I don't like someone new, then maybe I'll go back to that other author. And we don't want that. We want those sales and we want that reader to continue with us. So how about we start thinking about a new experience that we can give our readers instead of focusing so much on the sales?